Never thought I'd be making this video. Not because it's positive towards the Monsterverse, but because it's a video about the new Empire. Yeah, so I watched this movie once in the theaters, blew past the entire runtime, and then thought, yeah, that was pretty good. Not worth a video, though. Well, here we are 2 years later. Jesus Christ, I haven't uploaded an actual video in forever.
I didn't do fucking shit!
I still stand by my statement in my last video about the fandom, however. But, ignoring the fandom for a moment, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. It's pretty good. I use that word good very loosely, just like how Michael Daugherty uses the term world-building loosely. It's a solid movie. It's my favorite greasy Burger King menu item. It's no -1, it's no GMK, and it's certainly no 1954, but it gets the job done. However, this is the Godzilla movie that will forever have a Volkswagen advertisement planted in the middle of its runtime. If that doesn't say anything about the Monsterverse's quality, then I don't know what will. But enough of my pessimism and shitty attempts at media literacy, let's just talk about this fast food movie. And because I'm gonna repeat it again, when I first saw this movie, I truly did not think it was worth a video or really being talked about. It did its job, it was fun, and I honestly truly believe this is one of the better Monsterverse films. And it's for entirely different reasons. I don't view this movie on the same level of scrutiny as I do with King of the Monsters or Godzilla vs. Kong, and certainly not the first two movies, which I still need to talk about. And it's to an extent, by the way. All that is to say, the film's intention is what really drives most of my criticisms. King of the Monsters was a continuation of an already established, relatively grounded world that took itself seriously, but it was just a fan film trying to glaze itself and was only being pretentious with its environmental message. Godzilla vs. Kong was the first film to truly break away from the level of groundness, but it was still taking itself seriously, and because of that, it was way easier to poke holes in it for obvious reasons. The New Empire, however, fully embraces the stupidity and just goes for it, which on that note, I can forgive it based on its intentions of just trying to be a theme park ride. And that's enough of that. The New Empire, here we go.
Beginning, middle, end. Facts, details, condense, plot.
The film opens up with Kong being hunted by a pack of gigantic hyenas, ultimately leading them to a trap as he's basically hunting for food. What even the fuck are we doing? He hears another Kong roar from somewhere, but it just turns out to be this 50-foot retard frog instead. I like how this sequence and then the opening credits right after set the expectation of how stupid this movie's going to be. We move on to Dr. Eileen Andrews explaining the state of the world, Kong rules Hollow Earth, and Godzilla keeps the order on the surface, as seen by him shoulder-checking Scylla, then using the Colosseum as a bed. Then we get this disturbance from Hollow Earth that opens up another entryway, and the disturbance also affects Gia, who struggles to find her place in the world much like Kong in the previous movie. Still keeping that parallel between the two characters, nice. Gia ends up making these weird drawings that coincidentally match the readings Monarch's been getting. Eileen tries to support Gia since she's the last of her tribe, and ultimately goes to Megatron for help. Not sure why it takes Black Alex Jones for her to realize something she already knows. Plus, Bernie's just ridiculed into a backseat gamer for the rest of the movie. He offers literally nothing other than comedic relief. Kong comes back to the surface after having a toothache, and this causes one of the best characters in the franchise to be called in. Godzilla also gets disturbed, both by the disturbance and the fact that Kong is back on the surface, but I guess his alert for Kong gets cut short since he just continues on his journey for collecting more energy. Everyone goes to Hollow Earth. They find out the outpost was destroyed by another giant ape, which we soon discover is from a hidden ape society that was trapped by Godzilla. Kong comes across Suko in the most fucking hilarious way possible. After the fight, Kong convinces the Dewey monkey to lead him back to this ape society. Meanwhile, Eileen Andrews and everyone else continues to search for the disturbance. A man gets eaten alive and is quickly forgotten about, and also Bernie's here for whatever reason. They find it's a hidden Iwi society protected by some silk force field. The plot literally progresses from the characters' like survival skills.
So should we be doing that?
They find the Iwi people and come to the conclusion they're the ones causing the disturbance. And at the same time, they find out Gia is meant to reawaken Mothra for some reason. I don't know how that works out either. Then we get a cave drawing exposition of this film's villain Skar King and Shimo, which were then introduced through Kong's perspective. Kong gets into a fight since the bigger apes are being mean to the smaller ones. Oh, how cruel. Then Skar King kills, I assume is meant to be Suko's mother or father. It's not clear because this ape looks exactly the same as the other one who attacked Kong earlier. Kong gets the upper hand, Shimo appears under Skar King's control, wounds Kong, and then he escapes thanks to the help of Suko. Then he trails back and somehow manages to find the Iwi people, but oh no, they've been followed. One convenience after the next, Kong gets an upgrade and rejuvenated, Skar King arrives, and then also Godzilla makes a cameo in his new Super Saiyan Rose form. Then they fight, every blow has zero impact against each other in this finale, there is zero consequence nor any indication the monster is getting hurt, little to no impact. Skar King makes it to the surface along with Shimo, blasting the sky to start another ice age, which I have no idea how that even benefits Skar King. Kong and Godzilla fight them in all of the most goofiest ways possible. Really, this entire fight can just be summed up as 7-year-olds playing with their toys. Suko Deus Ex Machinas out of nowhere in the most dumbest slow motion ever and saves the day, destroying the crystal controlling Shimo. Shimo and her new freedom freezes her master as Kong makes the final blow for the 3rd time in this series. Godzilla radiates Rio even more, somehow saving the day, and all are happy. Except, of course, that everyone who had to suffer the millions of dollars in damage. Gia gets back together with Eileen, somehow making her own arc kind of pointless. Everyone is happy, Godzilla gets to go back to sleep, and then Kong finally becomes King Kong.
Everybody got that?
I feel like a brain tumor just grew in my head.
Fearsome Godzilla has evolved to become more powerful.
Yeah, so Godzilla's journey is a lot less direct to the plot than in the previous film. Hell, he's entirely sidelined for Kong completely. And then watching this movie on my 3rd rewatch, I almost completely forgot Godzilla was in this movie to begin with. Like, one of the main title characters barely shows up in their own movie. What are we doing here? At least in Godzilla vs. Kong, he had an active motivation, stopping whatever the fuck Apex was up to. Now, in the New Empire, you would say his motivation is he's gearing up for the greater threat being Shimo and Skar King, right? Well, that's the film's greatest fault, actually. Godzilla is just preparing for no reason at all other than just to be a dick to everyone around him. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, they very clearly state he's preparing to fight in response to the Iwi people's call, which I would say makes sense, but then 30 minutes later they retcon that and say Kong has to get Godzilla's attention to help out.
Godzilla won't come down here unless Kong brings him.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Godzilla won't come down here unless Kong brings him.
Which is it, movie? If it's Godzilla responding to the Iwi's call, then stick with it. He wouldn't need Kong's attention. It's already been established in media he can go through these Hollow Earth portals on his own. What does he need Kong for? Don't just backfire and have Kong get his attention because it just defeats the purpose of Godzilla even powering up to begin with. And Kong getting his attention doesn't even work. It takes the help of Mothra to stop their fighting. I guess this was just meant to be the film's obligatory Godzilla and Kong fight. The movie inadvertently made Godzilla's entire purpose pointless. How do you even manage that? How are fans not appalled by these movies completely dissing Toho characters and Godzilla? And I thought King of the Monsters was bad. This movie just made a character's entire journey meaningless. God, this movie hurts my brain. Another thing I have somewhat of a problem with is Godzilla's character. He's just the extreme version of what we come to know in this series. Not in a reasonable manner either. Like, he's just a straight up dick in this movie. The only natural order justification would be him killing Scylla, but even then, he himself causes millions of dollars in damage in Italy and claims the Colosseum as a bed. Like a big old cat, which, funny enough, that's what Adam Winger based Godzilla on, his cat. Takashi Yamazaki also did the same thing with -1. Funny world we live in. Alright, that's enough of that. Too cute for my cold heart. I do mean it when Scylla is the only justifiable example for this actions. Random monster is out of order, so he's doing his job taking care of it. Makes sense. But then when he gets the disturbance, he goes fucking wild, causing more damage along the way. He steals nuclear energy from France, leaves a massive radioactive trail to the point where water boils around him. So in other words, France is just gone, doing God's work deleting the French, I guess. And then he breaks into another Titan's territory just to steal its power. There was even a point in the film where he was booking it for Kong while he was back, but then I guess he just got cut short. Then he gets his new form to prepare for this battle, which again is retconned within the span of 30 minutes over a couple lines. And then once Kong comes back to the surface, he's immediately alerted to a frenzy destroying everything in his path so they can fight. This version of Godzilla is no longer an alpha predator. He isn't even acting like he's keeping the order aside from one example, as all he does is bum rush from point A to point B over some battle preparations. This is not the same Godzilla as previously established. Credit where credit's due, at least King of the Monsters kept the concept of his character as the head of the order. Now he's just ridiculed into the extreme version of it and that only wants to have his way and nothing else. Also, on the subject of his powering up, I kinda dig the design. I like the pink dorsal plates and how much more agile he is, way more combat ready. I never once had a problem with it. Plus, Godzilla's design changing from movie to movie is just a tradition at this point. Granted, that's due to the quality of old suits, but still. Also, I do have to question what the hell was even the point in changing into this new form. He doesn't do anything different in his new form that we haven't already seen him do, and it's not like this form does any consequential effect to Shimo to begin with, nor does it do anything to Skar King for that matter. For once, I would love this series to make Godzilla's atomic breath actually be useful and have more of an effect. No issue for me on his design, but it's just so pointless if it doesn't change anything. I've only had an issue with his character being ridiculed into one-dimensional, and the fact that he has the least amount of screen time. It's called Godzilla and Kong. They both should have had equal development in their quests, not completely one-sided. Aside from all that crap, it was fun watching him in action. I also liked how things were wrapped up with Godzilla in this film compared to Godzilla vs. Kong. It felt like things were more even when things ended. Godzilla gets to go back to sleep, and Kong finally gets his King Kong title. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about Godzilla's side of things. Anyway, monkey time.
And then there's Chunky. He's dead.
Is that the fucking arm to Gypsy Danger? It literally is! Wow, I'll be damned.
Making one of the strongest titans even stronger didn't go over so well, so we got shut down.
Yeah! No
So you really mean to tell me that this once zoologist organization planned to turn a giant ape into a fucking Jaeger? Guys, what are we doing with this world building? Anyway, Kong. I gotta be honest, I struggled a bit on writing about Kong aside from a few things. I think he works fine. I like how he's utilized. He has a genuinely well-told story and wanting to find his place in the world, and by the end of the movie, he does. Wow, actual development for a monster. I will say the obvious, this is very much a Kong movie since he's the first thing we open up to and end with. And thankfully he's likable and easy to connect with, even if he is just a giant mammal, so I guess you could cheat that way. I like Kong in this. This brute giant just not wanting to be alone, and then when he comes across new apes, he's curious and hesitant to kill them until they push him to a limit. The only issue I have with Kong is that he's too human. Same issue with the other giant apes. They're not really that monstrous, except when they are the 10% of the time. They're very much a giant society. And I don't mean because they're big. I mean giant society. Just big humans. As a matter of fact, why is he so bulked up when compared to the other apes? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, since, one, this society has been in Hollow Earth for millions of years, which is rich in radiation, so in that regard, it makes sense why they're so big, but how are they not as bulky as Kong? Two, Kong has been on the surface for who knows how long, which has less radiation around the world aside from the Pacific nuclear test. And the first time we see him, he's smaller than fucking Suko is in this movie. So in the span of 50 years, he shoots up to be bigger than Skar King and is somehow bulked out of his mind than the biggest ape. We'll get to Skar King, but come on. Outside of that twig's agility, he shouldn't even come close to beating Kong. Another issue is I hate how Monarch portrays Kong as some kind of savior to the point of considering a program that would suit him up like a goddamn mech. He's a giant ape. He can barely survive on his own without some upgrade, i.e. the Godzilla axe or his fucking mech arm. It's also so convenient how the mech arm fits the one hand that's actually damaged. Anyhow, Kong's good. I have very little to say about him, other than he's just too human in all of his actions. That's really it. I fucking hate Suko, both in his design, character, and how he's utilized. He's stupidly cute.
So cute!
He's not even cute looking, he's just ugly and annoying. He is the most annoying thing about this movie and what almost ruined it for me. The only thing I can comment on that's any good about him is his story arc. He's abused, used, pushed around, and doesn't have a father or really a parent figure. Learning to trust Kong and assist him on his journey is one of Suko's more defining traits. As cringe as some of those moments may be, it's a solid arc. However, you cannot convince me Suko is so easily forgivable after being used like a baseball bat. How the fuck was he not torn apart in this scenario? It just goes back to my point about how every blow in this movie has little impact. Design-wise, why the fuck is there a baby Kong that's the same size that Kong was in his first movie? He looked like a grown-ass man in that. I've seen many videos about this issue, and so have you, but come the fuck on. Suko should at the very least be an adolescent at this size rather than just being a big-eyed baby. Also, is he Skar King's son? He's really the only other orange-colored ape that I can see, and it's not very clear. Why is he the only childlike ape that's active? The others we see are cared for like infants. How are they not sent out into scouting missions like Suko? Why not make Skar King more cruel in that regard? And just like Skar King, which we'll get into in a bit, Suko's just so cartoonish in the way he acts and everything. But that's really all I can say about this dewy-looking ass monkey. Serviceable, but annoying as fuck.
Brass monkey, that funky monkey.
Skar King is just funny. Like, he is cartoonishly evil. He is by far one of the most underwhelming monsters in all of Godzilla or King Kong media. He is just a bald-headed, skinny-ass orangutan. There are better designs made by fans than this shit. You really mean to tell me that Skar King, this absolute chud of a monkey, is meant to be a bigger threat than King Ghidorah or Mechagodzilla? He's not even that imposing because he's shorter than Kong. Sure, he can't beat him with brute force and he has to be more agile, but come on. One blow from Kong would be enough to put his ass out. Motherfucker gets scared shitless by the sound of Godzilla. He's just a big monkey with a whip that's meant to control Shimo. Is that really the only reason he's able to take charge, is because he holds the unlimited power to end the world? As for his motivations, it's just so unclear. Like, how does having Shimo glaze the earth into an ice age benefit you exactly? You had her stored into a lava gate and you seem to be pretty well off in that environment. All that I can understand is that he's power hungry and that's it. How one-dimensional of an antagonist. He's just a big meanie to all of his subjects and that's about it. Oh no, he killed Suko's only parent. How evil. Now Kong really has to stop him. I don't get why he has an entire army shifting rocks around all day, and I don't think the film does either, since we don't even get to see what they're working towards. Also, the only connection we get with Skar King is that he was trapped by Godzilla millions of years ago, and that was it. Not sure how he isn't dead, since Godzilla by this point in time, in the film continuity anyway, has killed every single Titan that was out of order, and he's just meant to be the fourth ancient rival at this point. You know what? I'm glad we're getting Space Godzilla in the next movie, because it at least gives us a new monster that's not another ancient fucking rival. Speaking of which, Shima's pretty alright. Her design's fine enough, it's not crazy or really iconic when compared to other Toho monsters. Apparently she caused the Ice Age, which I'm not even sure how the fuck Eileen managed to figure that one out from cave drawings. I'm sticking here with Skar King since they kinda go together. Ultimately, an opposing monster that's bigger than the Ghidorah who caused the Ice Age is an interesting concept, but it's extremely underwhelming, both in her lack of imaginative design and also how underwhelming her power really is. Her power is more of a spectacle than a threat in all honesty. I don't feel anything from her effects. The only time would be with Kong's hand, and aside from that, she doesn't do much damage to any of the other monsters. I genuinely hate how the fights lack impact or any blood being drawn aside from the one shot of Kong's hand. At least Godzilla vs. Kong was brutal. Remember when monster movies were a bloodbath and still had a PG rating? Good times. Skar King's very meh, but Shimo's alright. Big muscle mommy monster.
I know what kind of man you are.
Oh yeah, I forgot Mothra was in this while writing this review. I find it funny how they always intended it to be Mothra, but because of the rights, they temporarily replaced her with some random goddess monster. Also, how does someone from Skull Island have the power to reawaken Mothra? Like, isn't it already established that Mothra has her own mythos on the surface somewhere else? She had a temple and everything. What the fuck is Gia going to do? Skull Island in every film has zero connection to Mothra. Whatever. Hey, look at them. Mothra doesn't die in this movie. That's literally it. Mothra is just another plot device, but she's also extremely random in this, and her only purpose is just to stop Godzilla from fighting Kong. That's about it.
Big personalities just sort of clashing and bloody.
I expected this section to be shorter, but the more questions I had, the deeper the portal went. Okay, so there's really not a lot of human characters in this movie, and to the film's credit, I'd say that's a plus for once. The last three movies have been dwindled by an overabundance of characters that offered very little or were just in service towards some level of exposition. Except Skull Island. Everyone had a role in that movie, no matter how little. Everyone in GXK, we only have Aline, Trapper, Bernie, and Gia to focus on. And I guess that one security guy. So yeah, bravo to the filmmakers for making this a pretty genuine monster-focused film. And while that's the biggest plus for this movie, the 4 characters we focus on are pretty well contained. Granted, 2 out of 4 well-written characters aren't exactly that great either. Speaking of characters, both Kyle Chandler and Millie Bobby Brown aren't in this despite being so involved in Godzilla's side of the story. Like, didn't Mark come back to work on the Godzilla division? Is there even a Godzilla division? Kong has his own with Aline, but what about Godzilla? You know, the one monster that started this entire series, both literally and in universe. Monarch exists because of Godzilla. Point is, Millie Bobby Brown and Kyle Chandler are seemingly gone for who knows what reasons. I did notice a small Easter egg that Madison was on Bernie's podcast, so she's still very much active, just not with Monarch. Okay. Speaking of which, that brings me to Eileen. Why is she so much in charge all of a sudden? She takes over Godzilla's problems as well. Wasn't she just supposed to be observing Kong? Like, I get everyone knows Godzilla and Monarch, but you wouldn't have someone from a subdivision handle government relations. That would be under a regulatory director or some similar position. It would also include the director of the Godzilla side of things. She also handles the Hollow Earth side of things, which I guess makes sense since she was so involved in the previous movie, but wouldn't that not go towards Nathan Lind, aka Alex Alexander Skarsgård from the previous film. He was a Heave pilot and also wrote an entire book about the Hollow Earth. Wouldn't he be hired by Monarch to lead an expedition? Where is he at? Getting sidetracked again, but back to Eileen. Outside of the world building logistics to her character, she's really here to be the mother figure to Gia, which I think she does a fine job as. I like her connection and how it still continues from the previous film. She tries her best to comfort and look after Gia, even if that means reluctantly bringing her along for the adventure to risk her safety, just so she can possibly find her people. The main argument between the two is really about the mother and daughter bond they have, which leads me to Gia, of course. She struggles to find her place in the world since she's the last of her tribe, and she eventually does find her place in the world with the Hollow Earth Iwi people. She doesn't feel like she belongs at the start, but then she finds her place with Eileen no matter where they go. Kind of defeats the purpose of an arc between these two. Like, there was a moment where Eileen was debating on giving up Gia so she could be with her tribe. That could have been a ballsy move by this movie, but of course they don't do that and instead go with the cheesy "I belong with you all along" or "it was the friends we made along the way" cliche. We don't even get an indication of Gia's internal struggle throughout the film. It's only the opening, really. Anyway, her arc works slightly, but it just defeats the point of Gia's entire story, in all honesty. I don't belong anywhere, but oh no, I actually belong with you. Like, what? As backwards as it is all the way through, it works fine enough. Eileen and Gia are still the best characters in this movie for the human side of things. They're solid in their relationship, and I like how their story went. Now for the other two characters. Trapper, what a fucking stud.
Oh no, he's hot!
I like his character just on the premise and Dean Stevens' performance, but ultimately he's just an absolute lunatic. Congratulations, you get to name a new disease. I don't have much to say other than he's just Ace Ventura for giant monsters. I like that concept, but the implications are rather impractical since Kong or maybe future Suko are the only practical ones to operate on, cause what the fuck are you gonna do for Godzilla? Trapper's entertaining, that's about it. Now for Bernie, bringing Bernie along for the ride is the equivalent to the US government bringing on Alex Jones' expertise.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
He offers nothing besides being comedic relief, and just, I guess he represents the whole outside world perspective, and I also guess a message about keeping this undiscovered location hidden. I don't know. My only guess is that he's back because they need to fill more space with other characters and to add more to the lighter tone. Okay, he's brought back by Eileen to figure out the distress signal, in which case he does. Figure out it's an SOS this entire time, and that it apparently corresponds with every major event in this series, which is kind of ridiculous since the pattern is meant to be an SOS, but it's associated with events like Ghidorah's discovery, Skull Island's discovery, and Godzilla's first encounter. Which to me, why would a civilization in Hollow Earth call for help on the surface level during these events? Bernie is only meant to figure something out that the Monarch experts supposedly can't, and he's brought to Hollow Earth to uphold Eileen's end of the bargain. That's literally it. Aside from those points, he's just kinda useless and offers translation from the Iwi people. Not sure how he got that expertise since it should be more with Eileen since, you know, her relation with Gia. Ah well.
The world is changing.
I might as well just stop talking about this series' attempts at world building now, because with every movie, something is constantly changing that either makes me question logistics or rolls my eyes at with every new addition. We're getting Space Godzilla in the next movie. Like, this entire series is just tonally shifted and has been throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. Who's gonna be a new ancient rival to Godzilla, I wonder? Mutos, Ghidorah, Kong, another giant fucking monkey. Where did these monsters come from? The Hollow Earth? Wait, no. And even deeper levels of the Hollow Earth. Wait, no. Fucking Atlantis. The Hollow Earth Iwi people were here the entire time. They've sent the same SOS signals for every major event in the Monsterverse, according to Bernie. How convenient. How many of these fucking things are there? There's 17 and counting. There's war. Some are threats. Some aren't. Some are active as fuck with their own domains, or just straight up dead because of Godzilla. Monarch is on the verge of shutdown. Twice, yet gets access to ridiculous amounts of technology. I don't think a world that just went through this is going to allow one singular organization to have this kind of technology when focus should be on rebuilding and managing resources. Hell, it's even implied that Monarch doesn't even report to anyone anymore. Like, what? What kind of jurisdiction and authority do they really have? They started off as a US organization, so therefore that is where they should remain. There's a rival evil organization that built a giant fucking robot. How the fuck did this organization come to be? You cannot convince me the same world is going to be making Godzilla and Kong toys after countless examples of city-leveling destruction. But CGF, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah had Godzilla toys in that universe. That movie was on bath salts. Anything was fucking possible. Humanity is just a playground. Monarch has these low-staff facilities and all these highly advanced resources, yet run by the most nonchalant people on the planet. There's just supposedly a deeper layer to Hollow Earth trapping this ape civilization. I don't know, they got out pretty easily later in the movie. Like, literally, there's little difference between this subterranean layer and the one everyone started off in. It also has some of the same creatures we've already seen before. Skar King was able to get out pretty easily. Like, this isn't much of a prison, to be honest. Hell, he breaks out early on when Outpost 1 is destroyed. So I don't understand how they couldn't have broken out sooner where Kong's still able to get to the surface from his own portal and not through the Iwi tribe. Speaking of tribes, you really mean to tell me there's multiple giant ape civilizations now, all of which are capable of early Stone Age development? What the hell happened to just ordinary giant monsters? It's just so tiresome. And if you come to me with the excuse of just shut off your brain for me to not question a franchise, then all I have to say to you is to go back to having your conversation with ChatGPT. Stop wasting my skills and stop telling me what to think. Damn, I went off track for nothing. Worldbuilding is just a bunch of gobbledygoo. If I even try to analyze more of it, I'm gonna go apeshit. Moving on. Last but not least, well actually it is the least, the visuals are beautiful in this film. I'm so glad we finally moved on from shredding every monster and particles or oversaturating the film's visual style into a bloated mess. I can see the monsters in full display and their CGI is pretty serviceable. It's a pretty movie, I like it. I can see the monsters in all their glory, broad daylight shots, it's all chef's kiss. Mwah. I will say, these giant 300-foot tall monsters moving this fast is ridiculous. Like, scale is just completely fucked. These are all 100-meter large apes and then there's this fucking dead thing. What in the ungodly fuck? Throw in Cthulhu at this point. Why not? Every monster at this massive scale all get thrown around like ragdolls. They move like Showa-era monsters. Actually, I take that back. You could still feel the weight of the monsters in those movies. You can't feel any sense of weight to these monsters in this film because of how ridiculously fast they move. Scaling is just non-existent. As for the music, it's really forgettable aside from the one revamped Godzilla theme because it almost feels kind of soulless and one-dimensional. At least King of the Monsters had Bear McCreary's godly score. That's probably these last two films' biggest downgrades, is that the soundtrack's just been so dull, and it's really disappointing. Every Godzilla film and every Monsterverse film up to Godzilla vs. Kong has had a memorable or stellar soundtrack. Even the shittier Godzilla movies had amazing soundtracks. And that's really all I can say. It's a pretty movie, but even then, you can always spray paint a pile of shit gold. I could literally sum up this movie as pure convenience and so inconsequential. Kong is wounded and needs to be patched up? No problem. Here's a conveniently placed unfinished project already in Hollow Earth that just so happens to be the hand he needs. This Monarch technology camouflages? Sure, why not? Titan veterinarians exist? Sure, why not? Eileen can read these ancient symbols in Hollow Earth that was just discovered? Sure, why not? And this movie treats the destruction like the wave of a hand. And if the director of Supernova is going to try to make things darker, I'm genuinely curious how he'll handle the destruction from this movie, if at all. France and Spain are radiated to all hell along with Rome. The pyramids are completely destroyed and all of Rio is leveled and probably doused in worse radiation. I'm sorry, I find it hard to believe Godzilla's radiation is going to save the day. That's just another convenience among many others. It might be the fact I enjoy this film more than the previous two, sure, but I think it really does come down to the intention. Like, all of the marketing made it front and center. This was going to be a monster-focused movie with absolutely zero shits given, and it did that. Maybe one-sided to all hell, but it did it. Long, uninterrupted sequences between Godzilla and Kong to tell the story. I liked that the film did that, and none of the fights have any hard cuts back to our other characters. This is the film's greatest strength. It's not even the bare minimum of showing the monsters. It expands that. We open up with Kong front and center, we get long sequences with him uninterrupted to tell the story, and that keeps going when he clashes with Godzilla. And as extreme as Godzilla's character now is, I like the fact that every monster is treated like an actual character rather than just some tool. Everyone has a purpose and motivation, even if it is kind of lopsided most of the time. Godzilla kind of just wants to sleep and keep the order, even if he goes batshit insane. Kong wants to find his home and others like him, so he isn't alone, and he finally does. Suko, you could argue, wants to be free and have some type of father figure. Blech. Skar King, as cartoonishly evil as he is, wants to rule the surface. And then Shimo pretty much wants to be set free. And while some of these are explained through, once again, cave drawings, they at least don't have some random fucking expert pulling up digital files to explain their backstory. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the New Empire. It's serviceable, but it unfortunately does irreversible damage to this series' world building in terms of ancient rivalries for the 4th time now, and how the damage is handled in this world. All in all, I'd give this movie a solid 6 out of 10. Now, taking my bias away, this movie's a 4 out of 10, which now makes me realize I should change my scaling on King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong. King of the Monsters, 5 out of 10. Godzilla vs. Kong, 6 out of 10. The New Empire was stupid fun. I ultimately call this movie good for the name of the game and memes, but this truly is a broken and pointless film. I'm always going to give shit to Michael Dougherty's execution of King of the Monsters, but my god, Adam Wingard is the most uninspired director I've ever seen. And he's gotten 2 movies out of this franchise. Is that even fair? Like, credit where credit's due for Michael Dougherty. He at least gave a shit, but it was just executed so pretentiously.
You're a little confused, but he got the spirit.
This isn't me praising King of the Monsters. I will forever hate that movie. Also, I do mean it when I say it took me forever to write this review just because of how stupid GXK really is. It has given me a monstrous brain tumor just because of how ridiculous every scene is in this movie. However, if future movies like Supernova are able to pull off the same level of monster storytelling like this movie did at the very least, then I'm okay with the direction it's going in. Even if we're getting fucking Space Godzilla. Holy shit. And that does it for me. I'm definitely gonna do more Godzilla videos since it's been forever. You'll definitely see more random edits from me, that's for sure.
You're getting fucked!
Anyway, I'll catch you crazy fuckers later. We're on a journey to the end.
You'll never defeat No. Wait.
Fearsome Godzilla has evolved to become more powerful than ever and joins the mighty...